Hi and welcome back to our Toilet Explosion Challenge. I'm as always your host Liz, and after number 1 and number 2, it is now time for the third video in the series. We are gonna jump right in right after this message from our sponsor. This video was sponsored by Providence. Rent your own office train compartment far away from disturbing co-workers, annoying bosses and civilization. Their rental space comes with extra security and an after-work bar, as well as the best of all services, which is subduing any annoying co-workers so you can work in peace and quiet. Contact Providence now with my code TOILET for 10% off the first month. Thank you Providence for sponsoring this video, and let's get on with it. After getting our hands dirty for 2 seasons, it was more than necessary to start the 3rd season off in a royal fashion. So I went to Dubai and immediately got caught trespassing. Next, I went 1 floor up, distracted some guards on the balcony and helped them with their insomnia issues. Being now part of the crew, I started by doing some electrical work which ended up in a blackout that a colleague had to resolve. After all, it was only my first day on a job. I tried to do some repairs as well, but only ended up accidentally deleting the security footage. Since I did my job so badly, I felt it would be best to go on a break before my boss showed up. I went downstairs, got a few tips, and borrowed some muffins from the kitchen for my lunch. I came across my first target, Marcus Stuyvesant, followed him throughout the building for quite a while, and when he was not looking, poked him in the back with a pneumatic pen syringe. While I followed him to the toilet, it dawned on me that I forgot to find a propane flask, which turned out to be the real problem. Thinking that I might still be successful, I choked out Stuyvesant anyway and then went on my way to search for a propane flask, but was immediately spotted and hunted, which led to an eventual reset. On my next run, I was a lot smarter and went straight to the kitchen, this time not to steal a muffin but instead a propane flask. Again, I poked my target with a pneumatic pen syringe after distracting a bodyguard and then followed him to the toilet, but this time with the propane. This obviously turned out to be a smarter approach since it was fairly easy and Marcus Stuyvesant went out in a blaze of glory. Next on my list was my second target, Mr. Ingram, so I quickly climbed into the elevator shaft only to find out that the elevator shaft does not lead up to the right floor. So I made some use of my key hacker and opened the door, which was not appreciated by a mean-spirited guard. After some quality time hiding in the closet and making sure that my body hiding stashes are indeed of the best comfort level possible, I went back and entered the top level. Finding the toilet and clearing it out was the easy part. At this point it dawned on me that I forgot rat poison to lure my target to the toilet, so I went all the way back down and searched the entire building for some rat poison, which I eventually found and brought back up. Since I was not carrying any propane, I chose to make use of an explosive golf ball. Unfortunately, it turned out that the range of this thing was way higher than I expected and my golfing career was ruined by an early accident. After some hanging out in the fresh air, I cooled down and made my way back inside. Since I had to flush my golfing career down the crapper, I chose to go with a trip mine instead and had a hard time choosing where to place it. Eventually I went with the maximum airtime setup and placed it right in front of the toilet. To properly spice Ingram's food, I joined the kitchen staff and prepared him an unforgettable dinner. My feelings were quite hurt when he did not enjoy the meal and made his way to the bathroom, so I followed him to give him a stern talking to. Unfortunately for me, Ingram found my trip mine and managed to avoid my wrath by hitting the ceiling. All that was left to do now was to get out clean by climbing down an elevator shaft, since these modern buildings apparently don't seem to have any normal running elevators. After arriving in England, I had to clean my shoes since Diana didn't provide me with proper transportation through the mud surrounding the castle of Dartmoor. As soon as I stocked up on supplies, I made my rounds through the building as a security guard. Since I was not allowed upstairs, I had myself to a waiter's disguise, but was unfortunately spotted by a high-level security guard. This proved to be a blessing in disguise though, because I managed to subdue him and borrow his suit, which allowed me to make my way up the building. Unfortunately, I faced some minor issues, knocking out people on the top floor, which I dealt with elegantly and professionally. At some point, I came to the conclusion that there were too many body parts to deal with, so I chose to reset my run. This time around, I sweetened the day of a security guard walking by to get my disguise, which allowed for more stealth and sugar. After making my way up again, I made it my mission to follow all the important parts of the very British approach on how not to be seen.
47. Will you stand up, please? This demonstrates the value of not being seen.
I succeeded in part, which is my specialty, but unfortunately one of the bodies was spotted by my target before I could hide it. So I made the best of the situation and had some fun with a wrench. At this point I embraced chaos and put my iron to some good use. To keep the room clean, I helped the next guard take a break with my trusty iron. Unfortunately, Alexa Carlyle's bodyguard insulted me and hurt my feelings.
I don't like your face.
So I ran. Then I remembered that you always have to stand up for yourself and face your bully, so I turned around and knocked him out. Since the chick was up, I used my iron and knocked out Alexa Carlyle as well and stored her in her own secret room until the guards calmed down. Since this took too long, I chose to actively help them calm down, which was a more successful strategy. Next, I could finally go for a propane flask, which I found in the staff room. Now, all I had to do is escort Miss Alexa Carlyle to the bathroom like any good bodyguard would, which was as easy as it sounds. Detonating her turned out to be just as easy and was quite a banger actually. Now all I had to do to finish was to take the documents out of the safe and make my way out of the level. Being the nice person I am, I tipped the gardener and jumped on my motorbike to travel to Germany. In Berlin, the queue to get in the club was too long for my liking, and since we left the politeness of England behind us, I just skipped the queue and walked right in. After picking up my smuggled item, I joined the club crew and grabbed a snack for the road. The first order of the day was to assassinate some security cameras since they might see too much. Next, I joined the security detail and had to waste my snack to distract the guard and make my way into the compound. Then I subdued a biker but was unfortunately spotted by one of my targets. Since we were in a club, I tried to get him hammered but failed, and so I had to reset. Back at the same place, I knocked out the pizza delivery guy in hopes of gaining access, but unfortunately I was spotted again. This slightly changed my plan, so I just knocked out a biker and used his disguise to get access instead. Unfortunately, none of these jerks opened the door for me, and I was too lazy to climb, so I figured I'd just knock out my first target, which I promptly did. I stashed the unconscious guy in the stairwell and went my merry way all around the building to get access through an open door. In the biker's kitchen, I found a useful propane flask that I gladly borrowed. For some reason, the outlaw bikers had surveillance cameras in their hideout, so I obviously had to rage against the surveillance state and take them out. After some searching, I finally found a suitable bathroom and set up my future crime scene. Then I borrowed some cocaine since I was out of my snack and wanted to have something to celebrate after a successful mission. My next objective was to drag the unconscious guy inside and to the bathroom, which I successfully managed to do with some minor spring cleaning along the way. Since I'm a very kind person, I sacrificed my cocaine and offered it to one of my targets so that he'd have a good time. Now that the two guys shared one bathroom, I went to play some pool and finally made my way upstairs to the security room. First, I threw remote explosives to knock out a guy and stashed him in a box, before putting my Fortnite quickscope skills to some good use and eliminating the security footage. I went up one more floor and knocked out a sniper who was waiting for a shot at me, and then started dragging him to the same bathroom without any complications whatsoever. Since I sadly lost my cocaine, I went to the indoor plantation to pick up some weed, which was more down my alley anyway. Then I finally found target number 4, who did not want to go number 1, so I knocked him out with a number 3 pool ball and made sure to drag him to my glorious body pile. On the way I was walked up on by an unsuspecting biker that had to take a quick nap. Now that I had 4 targets as well as 2 propane flasks in one toilet, I was out of targets in the building and did the only sensible thing I could, which was staging a perfectly regular bathroom accident. With only one guy left, I made my way back into the club to party. Dealing with the last agent was pretty straightforward. I just took out my emetic syringe, I poked him in the back while he was facing the other way, followed him to the bathroom and put my propane to some good use. A lady discovered him, but that was no big deal, since while she was running off to get help, I just dropped my remote demo block and triggered the whole path. And And now it finally paid out that I knocked out the pizza delivery guy earlier, since I could borrow his moped and make my way into the night. The moped was fairly helpful as a safe means of transportation all the way to China, and thanks to all the pizza on it, I even had a few snacks along the way. After arriving in Chongqing, I was out of work and took a job as a security guard where I was mostly busy blending in. However, that got boring quickly, so I made my way up the stairs and shot the surveillance footage that was conveniently located near my starting location. After doing some physics experiments with an innocent fluorescent lamp, I grabbed a propane bottle and made my way up to Hush so I could hush him for good. The first order of the day was to clean up the bathroom since it was overcrowded and wet from an overflowing sink. I also felt that the hallways could be less crowded, so I sent a few co-workers on a nice relaxing break. Then I distracted his guard and poked Hush with a pneumatic syringe. Unfortunately, this jerk did not agree with my approach, and instead of going to the toilet to throw up, he went out on the freaking balcony. Being out of options, I just subdued him right then and there and started clearing a path to the toilet, but unfortunately I made a few enemies along the way and had to reset. This time around I didn't even bother with a syringe, but just dealt with my problem by the means of a wrench to the face. A lot of dragging and hiding bodies later, it was finally time to hush the bastard Hush without a flush. After that I made my way to the roof to practice some reverse drone strikes and attracted the attention of the guards. Something might have gotten a bit wrong, and since I forgot to save, I had to redo everything up to this point, but we'll just pretend that didn't happen for my ego's sake. This time when I climbed the roof, my game figured it was time to add insult to injury and just crashed. But as the kids, or were it the boomers, say, 99th time's the charm, and indeed this time I crossed the roof, used the stairs and found a suitable disguise for accessing the facility. I entered the underground complex with a leisurely stroll, totally forgetting that even guards have to be patted down here. This led to some unplanned workout sessions, which included boxing as well as running. After I successfully got away, it was time to go after the blonde kapow wearing nerdy millennial chick.
Quite the bitch, apparently.
No, not that one, the other one. Next, I grabbed some chloroform from the copy room where chloroform in any reputable assassination company is being kept, and made my way to the break room, stealing some poor office worker's suit along the way. Then it dawned on me that I did not need chloroform since this was not my knock out as many people as possible challenge, but I was lucky enough to already carry rat poison on me. Next, I picked up my tripwire mine that the ICA already smuggled into the ICA building so that I could eliminate an ICA co-worker, and began subduing possible witnesses. Since it is of crucial importance to your health, please consider this as your reminder to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds, just as 47 does every time after choking out somebody. To have a more hygienic and contact-free subduing experience, I used a hammer for the second guy, who obviously got so hammered that he had to sleep off his hangover. Now it was finally time for the fun part, putting the rat poison in the break room AC and sending everybody on a break. Now all I had to do was to place the tripwire mine on the toilet and have a relaxing time waiting for Royce, who promptly arrived and sent everybody back to work. Kind as I am, I turned on the AC in the break room so she wouldn't feel too hot, but she immediately made her way to the toilet instead. I'm fairly certain that she at least went out setting a new airtime record for ICA employees, a feat that deserves commendation.
Edgy.
While I was admiring my work, her bodyguard approached and figured that I was looking suspicious, so I had to make use of a crowbar brick combo before turning off the AC to be sure nobody else would get poisoned. Making my way up to the street was easy, and I even made 2 new friends and spent some time telling them about my tragic life as well as all the resets I had to do during this mission. Then I finally took the train and left to level. Thanks to top-notch public transport, my train made it all the way to Argentina, where I arrived on time to start my new job as a waiter. The first order of the day was to collect as many wine bottles as possible since Diana loves her wine and I would not want to return without a gift. Before I quit my job, I quickly grabbed my tips and made my way over to the nearest security guard, whom I kindly asked to borrow his suit. Feeling more secure already, I made my way down to the cinema where a propane flask was stored and then spent some time deciding on a place for a medic grenading my target. To prepare the area properly, I gave away one of Diana's bottles of wine to the waiter standing around nearby. Unfortunately, this attracted the attention of one of Vidal's security guards, who also got a free Pinot Noir. I then hid them in a comfy closet while they slept off their hangover. The next guy to cross my path was Vidal's bodyguard number 2, which unfortunately turned out to be a bad idea, since they'd all turned around and I was hunted and had to reset. On my next run, I made it further and prepared a nearby toilet for the upcoming explosion. However, I made another mistake, not expecting more people to stand behind me, and got hunted again. I decided that a third approach would be my last one and I'd roll with the punches no matter what happened. And obviously bad things started happening immediately, when the first bodyguard I subdued decided to spin around at the last second, so I did the only reasonable thing and ran for my life. But since I brought a lot of wine, I could use it wisely to salvage the situation. Unfortunately, my emetic grenade plan failed, since Vidal turned around and walked back up to see what's going on. Her curiosity was awarded since she found a free unconscious body to keep for herself. While Diana did not care much about unconscious people on the ground, the guards certainly did. I used the mess to my advantage and kept subduing the guards from the security room that kept approaching to see what's happening. Since all the guards were now on break, due to me, I helped them out by taking over their job and deleting the security footage real quick. Next, I learned a very interesting fact about Hitman, which is that if you try to poke someone with an emetic syringe on the stairs, you might very well just punch them out. I made the best of the situation and quickly made a round to pick up some more wine, since I felt bad for Diana not getting home with enough to drink after seeing all these unconscious guys on the ground. Distracting the last guard in my way with a dropped gun, I finally was free to drag Tamara Vidal to the toilet. Now all that was left to do was the inelegant version of my plan, which ended with a big kaboom. After that disaster, I made my way over to Yates' mansion and became a security gaucho on the way. Unfortunately, it turned out that I was a low-level gaucho and had to become a high-level gaucho, so I paid my obligatory bottle of Pinot Noir to level up and was finally allowed to enter the mansion. After I made my way up to the top floor, I poisoned a glass of wine that I thought would belong to Yates. While he and his wife were enjoying the time on the balcony, I went around the house and put a tripwire mine next to the toilet. One of Yates' guards started snooping around, so I quickly took care of that issue and added a new cosplay costume to Mrs. Yates' wardrobe. Even though I came out to my friends like 18 years ago, I decided it was a good idea to spend some more time in a closet while Yates drank his rat poison. For an evil Providence guy, he sure had quite an explosive way to throw up. But hey, I'm not judging. All I had to do was to make my way to the boat and successfully steal it, which was a piece of cake. Our last mission started great, since I was living the dream of any train spotter, including myself, which is waking up on a train. Usually though, I'd prefer not to be naked. I made my way along the train, joining the security detail, observing a meeting between my new colleagues, putting my weapon crafting skills from The Last of Us to some use, and eventually stopping by for a quick drink at the bar. Since I played on Master difficulty, I obviously had to reset several times due to my inability to play a video game like a true pro. But at least I got to play some pool along the way. Since I was cold, I decided to join the office staff and got dressed in a sharp suit. Listen, this is the point where we need to talk. I was so happy when I found out that there were toilets on the train in the Carpathian Mountains, and I was certain that I could just knock out everybody and drag the Constant back to the toilet. But as it turns out, by a design flaw in the train that is fairly fatal, the Constant has no way of getting to the toilet, since the door to his car only opens once you disconnect all cars in the back. So I had to eliminate the man with a bladder of steel with creative arguments to make it count. My final reasoning was that since it's an old train, all toilets will flush directly down on the track, so if I blow him up on the back of his car, he'll eventually end up on the track, which is as symbolically close to the toilet as it can possibly get. I cannot really count this as a success, but it was the best approach I could master. I guess I will have to live with myself. After a semi-successful mission, I pulled the emergency brake and did the one thing that you should never ever do in your life when you're on a train, which is walking on the track right in front of the train while enjoying a beautiful sunrise. So this was season 3 of our toilet explosion challenge. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I also hope to see you again when we do this challenge for Patient Zero as well as for the Sarajevo 6. If you don't want to miss any future videos of me playing through all of Hitman as Sound Assassin or Sniper Assassin, click the subscribe button. You can also find more than 50 playthroughs on this channel. They're highly professional as well as not embarrassing at all. I would highly recommend watching them in order to learn how to play Hitman worse than you already do. One last thing. I now have a Patreon, so if you feel like supporting me, feel free to drop by for an exclusive name drop in the outro of my videos. I hope you had fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye, thanks for watching. Damn, who writes these scripts? Out my emetic paint syringe and poked him paint syringe.